Now, the new Pharaoh, who was Satan's human agent, instructed the Egyptian midwives to keep male children and spare only female children. When they didn't comply in verse 22, he gave another order that all male children be cast into the river. Are you seeing? Now, the spirit of the devil was walking through his new human agent, and he's making attempt to prevent God from having his own replacement of Joseph. Are you seeing? So Satan knows that for God to be able to influence the earthly territory, he will need a man. And so he is trying to place man to hinder God from having his man. So Satan is working through Pharaoh, his man, to stop God from having his own human agent. That is to tell you that Satan also understands this principle, that spirit needs men to be able to influence the territory. He knows that if he can stop God from finding a man, God's influence will be limited. It has always been like this, that if God remains without a man, his influence on the earthly territory will be limited. But because you and I are here, God will not be without a man, in the name of Jesus Christ. So Satan lost his man again when the king of Egypt died. At this same time, the children of Israel cried unto God. Exodus chapter 2, verse 24. Now God had them and remembered his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Now in Exodus chapter 3, the answer to the cries of the children of Israel was a man. Now, because of all the pain that the Pharaoh of Egypt, the right-hand man of Satan, was inflicting on them, they cried out to the Lord. But listen, God answered their cry, but the answer to their prayer was a man. Immediately, God began looking for a man in Moses, because he must find for himself a man to be of help to the children, to the cry of the Israelites. They cried to him. He had their cry. But for him to present them with an answer, he must find a man. So God began looking for Moses. And God found Moses. God said to Moses, I have come down to deliver my people out of the hand of the Egyptians. At this point, you will think that God will be seen physically at the forefront of this rescue mission. But if you look at verse 10, God said, come now, therefore, and I will send you to Pharaoh. So it was not a lie that God came down as he said, but until he found Moses, his human agent, nobody knew that God was around. So if Moses had refused the call, God would have had to wait until he finds another man. He was never going to succeed in rescuing them from Egypt without a man. So listen, the influence of God in a territory is not a true reflection of the might of God, but a reflection of the cooperation that the human agents in that territory have afforded God. Let me say it again. The influence of God in a territory is not a true reflection of the might and the power of God, but a reflection of the cooperation that the human agents in that territory have afforded God. So there may be many people now that have refused to cooperate with God concerning a particular matter. God has been instructing your heart to do a particular thing or to start a particular thing in your territory. You have been postponing it for long. Now, your inability to say yes to God concerning that assignment is limiting the ability of God to influence your territory. Maybe God has been beckoning on you, calling you forth to start a work with him, to start something big with him, but you have been, running away from it. Now, let me tell you, the danger is that until you say yes to God, what you are doing is that you are limiting the ability of God to influence your territory, because God needed you. God needs you to say yes to him and partner with him, so that through you and through your life, he will be able to influence your territory. God would have done so much in your territory if only you had obeyed his voice concerning that instruction. But it's not too late. Go back to that instruction today. Start taking a step of obedience. The influence of God in your territory is dependent on your obedience of faith to that instruction he gave you. Without you, God's influence on your territory will be limited. Remember what I said from the beginning, that God operating as God can never be limited. All the earth put together, Satan and all his cohorts put together, none of them have what it takes to stop God, to limit God. But God in his sovereignty has chosen to wield man a place of honor of partnering with him. And as a result of that, if man does not do his own part faithfully, it will appear as if God is limited. So that's why I said that God by himself is unlimited, but God in partnership with man can be limited. How? If man does not give unto God the cooperation that is required for God to influence man's territory. So don't because of your inability to work with God, make God to appear as if God is weak. God is not weak. God is powerful. God is mighty. God is unlimited, unstoppable. But that can only come to bear in our territory by the kind of cooperation and obedience of faith that we make available to God. I pray that in you, God will find a man via which he will dominate your own territory in the name of Jesus Christ.